So this is a Garma keynote address by Yininya Mark Gulkula, who is about working together and coming together. He's an independent member for Mulka in the Northern Territory since 2016. He was elected on the platform of treaty and has challenged government to work with Aboriginal elders and leaders, two-way and two cultures working together. Thank you for moving forward. That is a much nicer feeling. And can we please make Yininya feel welcome?
Thank you very much. Your bookmark. My name is Yininya Gulkula. I am a senior Yolngu leader of the Leadalimir Jambarpungo people, and I am the elected member for this country to the Northern Territory Parliament. Garma is a Yolngu word that means open meeting place. It is a traditional governance space that is open to all clans, men and women, and all community members. Garma gatherings have been happening in Yolngu country for tens of thousands of years. They are still held today by our elders and leaders, and previously by our ancestors. Garma space is a serious place for discussion and decision making. It's about creating harmony through deeper understanding and working together to achieve real outcomes. This is what should be carried out through this Garma space too. It's not just a place for headlines or a big government announcements or being seen on Aboriginal country. The Garma space is an important Yolngu governance space. It is about understanding each other and working together. When you look around, you will see elders and leaders here at Garma. We are the same as the Prime Ministers, Ministers and CEOs of Balanda space. We are a sovereign people and sovereign leaders of Arnhem land, and this is here. And this here is our country. And this space should be about our authority and our decision making. And with that in mind, I practically can't see the Prime Minister here, but I will welcome everyone here today. And I also welcome the people around here and the ministers, the other ministers of the Parliament attending, and the newly appointed Minister for Indigenous Australians, Senator Malandri McCartney. She's here. So, ka uli yolngo kanina ngaratoyan nawi na kon truyong mata nawi bolo manapan kon lemurong dipal o matuna mayalla daw dual ngana kalemurong nawi tolrom lim kadal kom Natchalim to Jamarambangi Ngapagal. For those people, you all know if there's here at present, or if they're not, if you'll be viewing it later on sometime, I am here to stand to again lift and call out the names of what Yolngu Rom and how we need to work with Yolngu Rom first before working with other cultures. Thank you. On this land, our system of law is called the Madayin system of law. It has existed on this country for tens of thousands of years. Our system of law comes from the land, and it brings harmony and balance. It is a way of living, not just a set of rules. At the foundation level, there are two moieties, Toa and Yirika, to which we all belong to, including the animals, plants, land, waters, and above the skies, and the surroundings. I am a Doa person, and my wife is Yirika. This balance runs through our kinship systems, through our relationships, and through our law. This balance also runs through our governance systems, from the Garma to the Duni to the Ngara, to all levels of governance. Recently, a significant elder in Arnhem land has passed away. The Reverend Dr. Gundara spent much of his life fighting for recognition of our law, which we call Yolngu Rom. I want to make mention of him here today to honor him. His fight for Yolngu rights was his life work. He explained Yolngu Rom as three basic elements: peace, order, and good governance. Good governments, rather. He said there is consistency in the law, and people are sent into the law. This is very powerful, because in Yolngu law, clans come together and assent to the law together. And this is how we still live today. We know that we never ceded our sovereignty, and our law is still strong. But as the Reverend Dr. Gundara said on many occasions to the government, the United Nations, and authorities all over the world, people are frustrated when we People are frustrated when our lives are being threatened and taken away. We just sit and do nothing. They cannot live for the day because their lives are controlled by someone else. They have given up hope. What is this use? What's the use? This is the message that the Reverend Doctor continued to tell the government until his dying day. And we now carry the message for him and for the elders and the ancestors and ancestors that have gone before him. We carry the message that our law, culture, language, and way of life are not our past, but also our present and future. We are Yolngu people, and we must create a future that gives us the space to be who we are, rather than the violence that we experience from a colonial assimilationist push to make us white. Another significant leader and bapa of mine, the late Mr. D. Munungur, who lived on Gartarala homeland, also passed away earlier this year. He was the last living signatory of the 1963 Bark petition. This petition was a diplomatic gesture using two languages that outline our connection to this land from time immemorial. As sovereign leaders and for this land, Mr. D. Munungur and his wife, Mrs. M. Munungur, were both significant leaders. They continued to live on their homeland and worked hard to establish successful education on their estates, including holding the vision for the boarding school at Gartarala that is running strongly now, with Yolngu people graduating year 12 and taking up jobs in their homelands on their ancestral country. This boarding school is successful because it has been driven by Yolngu elders and leaders. This is our Rome, the way, and the children recognize this and they want to be part of it. Homelands are our ancestral country. It is the land that we are responsible for and that cares for us. We have a connection that is life-giving, like the umbilical cord between the mother and the baby. On our homelands, we are confident, strong, and safe, and our identity is certain. All around us in Arnhem land, there are many people who live on their homelands permanently. Gartarala, that I have just mentioned, has 10 houses and a population of 60 people, about 60 people. Surrounding Gartarala are the homelands of Gurumuro, Wandawoi, Gangan, and others. And these are the homelands where the senior secondary student and children come from to attend the Gartarala boarding school. Yilpa homeland down the highway towards Gapoyak has 21 houses and about 150 people. My brothers live at the homeland of Bunangra in Buckingham Bay, where there are 2 houses, and I have many family living in Mapro, across the bay, where there are 9 houses and about 80, 85 people, and there is a strong independent school called Iralka College. There are some of the many homeland towns across this region with schools and health clinics, and some with small businesses that have had no new government housing for decades. Our homeland towns are in severe state of neglect. Many outsiders may see them as places where we might go sometimes to camp or hunt, as Mr. Abbott once called them, lifestyle choices. But these places are places of permanent residence for hundreds of people across the Northern Territory, and hundreds of more would choose to live in homelands if they had adequate housing. Housing places, or homelands rather, are places that sustain our people, sustain our culture and our identity. They hold a lot of solutions to the problems that we currently face. But the government are not hearing what we are saying. They are still not listening to the people and still think they know what is best for us. Earlier this year, the Productivity Commission released its review to the Closing the Gap report. They stated governments are not yet sufficiently investing in this partnership and enacting the sharing of the power that needs to occur in this decisions are to be made jointly. There appears to be an assumption that governments know best. These could easily be my words, but they are the words of the Productivity Commission. When I am talking about our homeland towns, I am explaining something that is critical to our survival and something that is critical to Yolngorom. It is our way of life and what makes us who we are. Without investment in our homelands and have no future. So I have been very disappointed that the Commonwealth government have not allowed the $4 billion for remote housing and to include new housing in our homeland towns. A housing agreement like this one creates more problems, but forcing people into bigger communities where we see significant problems and adds to decades of policies that suffocate and neglect the homeland towns, thereby contributing to our cultural demise, also known as critical genocide. I have been a an elected member of the Northern Territory Parliament for 8 years now. I have pushed and pushed to see improvements in our homeland towns. I have called for new housing to be spread across bigger towns and homeland towns. So we have the space to make a decision. We know are best for the people. We are telling the government that the homelands must be included because they are the safest, healthiest places for our children to grow up. Mr. and Mrs. Monongoro knew this when they fought for a boarding school in Gartarala. We are telling the government that our homelands need government policies that support their development so that our children can thrive and be successful in two worlds. We are telling the government where we need new housing. This is our closing the gap. We are telling you what we need. The First Nations Yolngu people in the NT are 70 times more likely to end up in jail than other young people. Right now, the adult jails in the NT are full. The wat jails are full. They want to build bigger prisons for Aboriginal people. Our bigger communities, there is increasing crime and problems because people are not living on their country. We have become like refugees. The problems that we see in Alice Springs and Darwin and in urban areas are here because governments have not listened. It's time for you to stop and listen to us now. It's time for a federal truth, treaty and peace commission, a Makarata commission. It's time for recognition of our leadership that sovereignty was never ceded. A treaty is a diplomatic gesture that brings our leaders as equals to the table with governments to say, what are the wrongs of the past? How do we fix this? What do we want our future to look like? It is through genuine treaty making and the government treaty making that the government can work in partnership and share power. But while the government continues to stall the process of treaty, our leaders and people continue to die. The old people that I have mentioned is in this speech, the Dr. Reverend Gundara, Mr. and Mrs. Munongoro, and many others should have been offered the dignity of negotiating for their clans and for their people. They should have been treated with the respect of being part of a treaty process. Treaty is about closing the gap. It is about sharing power and working together. Yolngu and Balanda, this is what I was elected for, to fight for treaty and to make a space for Yolngu so we can be who we are truly as Yolngu people. So I stand here today in this Garma space, and I call on the Prime Minister and the new Minister for Indigenous Australians to listen to us and work together to create an independent treaty commission that begins now in honor of another great leader, the late Dr. Madayin from the yothuyindifoundation. We call for treaty now. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.